Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel yet again with another video to support your German driving license journey. Today we are going to dive into lesson 6, which is part of series of lessons I've created to help you pass your German driving license theory exam. If you have not yet watched my other lessons, I shall leave them in the I button for your easy reference. In this lesson, I will be sharing some helpful tips on how to tackle the numerical questions with some easy way to remember them. So stay tuned. Without any delay, let's get started. So quite often you get these questions. Sometimes it's related to built up area, sometimes it is about outside built up area, and quite often it is confusing. So I've just created this table for you. I hope this would help you memorize these numbers because I have put them together. Okay, so let's go through them. So this is for built up area, which is within the city limits, and this is for the outside built up area. The right side is for the outside built up area. And the speed limit, as you know, for the city roads, for the city limits, for the built up area, it is 50 km per hour. For outside built up area, it's 100 km per hour. Of course, if it is not limited by any other speed limit sign. To pass a bicycle, if you are in the city roads, if you want to pass by a bicycle, the minimum distance space that you must leave is 1.5 meter, and the same is 2 meter for outside built up area. Again, the St. Andreas cross, when you see this railway cross, for built up area you should leave 5 meter space before this St. Andreas cross, and if it's outside built up area, the same is 50 meter. Okay, so let's go through the questions very quickly. What is the permissible top speed in built up areas? So I think now we know the answer, 50 kilometer. Let's look at the next one. So I'll be going quite fast, so in case you want to make it slow, please pause the video, go through the questions. So this is driving outside of built up area and you want to overtake cyclist. So here you need to clear 2 meter space. Let's look at the next question. You want to park in front of St. Andreas cross. What is the minimum distance you must leave clear? And this is inside built up area, so this is 5 meter. Next one, you want to drive within a built up area and you want to overtake a cyclist. What is the minimum distance you must maintain? And this is 1.5 meter. The next one, what amount of side clearance must you maintain? Okay, and in this case you know the answer is 1.5 and 2 meter. Okay. And what is the minimum distance you must leave clear when parking outside a built up area? And you know the answer is 50 meter. Yeah, so keep this table handy and this would help you remember these numbers. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so now let's look at some next few scenarios. If you want to stop a car in front of a pedestrian lane, or if you want to park in front of the pedestrian lane, the minimum distance that you must maintain is 5 meter. For bus stops or for tram stop, if you want to park, the minimum distance is 15 meter. And if you want to stop in a bus stop for a short period of time, the maximum time that you can stop is 3 minutes. Okay, so let's look at the questions. What is the minimum distance you must leave clear when stopping in front of a pedestrian lane? And now you know the answer, it's 5 meter. Let's look at the next question. Up to what distance is it prohibited to park before or after a bus or a tram stop? It is 15 meter. The next one, what is the maximum length of time you are allowed to stop at a bus stop, provided you are not presenting any obstruction to other buses? And this is 3 minutes. Yeah, now let's look at some other scenarios. Okay, so here in this case let's look at the questions directly. You're looking for somewhere to park on the right edge of the street. There is no cycle path to the right of your lane. How many meters before and after the junction are you allowed to park? Okay, so in this case you want to park in front of a junction. Okay, and here the answer is 5 meter. Let's look at the next one. What is the minimum distance A vehicle must leave clear in front of a traffic light if the traffic lights would otherwise be concealed. Okay, in this case, if you think your vehicle would conceal this traffic light, you must maintain 10 meter. Okay, so that's the answer. Let's look at the next scenarios. Okay, so sometimes you will get a question like this. You want to park on the right hand side edge of the carriageway. How big is the mandatory minimum distance between your vehicle and the solid lane boundary? Okay, here it's referring to this solid lane boundary, and you want to park here. So the minimum distance that you must maintain is 3 meter. Okay, so that should be the answer. Let's look at the next scenario. Okay, so let's look at this scenario. So you have, this is your city road, you have 2 lane moving forward. Only if your vehicle is less than 3.5 ton, you can choose any lane freely. Otherwise, you will have to stick to your right lane. Okay, and in this case, you have seen parking, where you are parking allowed in footpaths. So these are designated spots, and only if your vehicle is less than 2.8 ton, you are allowed to park in such designated slots. Okay, so you will get questions like this: up to which permissible total mass may motor vehicles be parked on specially designated footpaths? Okay, here the answer is 2.8 ton. And let's look at the next question: which motor vehicles may freely choose their lane inside built up area? And this is 3.5 ton. Okay, let's look at the next scenario. Now let's look at some other scenarios. So this is few important tips to remember in an Autobahn. So you need to have a minimum speed limit of 60 km per hour. So your vehicle should be at least capable of driving at 60 km per hour if you want to hit an Autobahn. The recommended speed in an Autobahn is 130 km per hour. Okay, this is the recommended speed. Of course, there will be speed limiting signs which would limit the speed, but if there is no speed limits, the recommended speed is 130. Of course, you can go above that, but it is recommended to be in 130. And in areas where there are heavy snow and where cars with snow chains are recommended, there the maximum speed limit is 50 km per hour. So take a note of that, and now let's look at few questions. You want to use an Autobahn. To allow you to do so, what type specific maximum speed must be entered? Yeah, so now you know the answer. The answer is 60. Okay, now let's look at the next one. What is the recommended speed that applies to cars and motorcycles on Autobahn? And 130 is the answer. Okay, now let's look at the next scenario. Okay, so quite often you will get questions like this with a vehicle carrying load, but let's look at and understand them with the questions. What is the maximum height allowed above the roadway for a red light marking a load extending to the back? And this is 1.5 meter. So that means you can have this red flag. You know, the maximum height that you can have this red flag is 1.5 meter, because if you take it beyond that, it will distract other vehicles. Okay, so that's the answer. Let's look at the next one. From what height it is permitted for the loads to project up to 50 centimeter in front of your vehicle? Okay, so in this case, as you can see, 2.5 meter. Okay, this is the height. This is the minimum height that is required for your loads to project in front of your vehicle. Okay, so 2.5 meter is the answer. Let's look at the next one. What is the maximum distance a load may project backwards beyond the rear reflectors without a projection marker being necessary? And this is 1 meter. So that means your load can project until a maximum distance of 1 meter without a projection marker. So in this case, if your load is like say until here, you don't need a projection marker. So the answer is 1 meter. Let's look at the next one. Up to what height is a load not allowed to project over the front of the vehicle? The answer is 2.5 meter. Okay, now let's look at this condition. So you're driving in a fog and you can see there is a vehicle, the visibility is very bad. So say your visibility is just 50 meter ahead of you, so you can't see anything beyond that. So in this case, your recommended speed is 50 kilometer per hour. You can only see 50 meter ahead of you, and the maximum stopping distance is 25 meter, which is 50 divided by 2. Okay, so now let's look at few examples. So here, what is the minimum safety distance you should maintain from a vehicle ahead of you when driving at a speed of 100 kilometer per hour? So if you get this then the minimum safety distance is always 100 divided by 2 in this case. So the answer is 50. Okay, now let's look at the next one. Okay, you are driving on a very narrow road and can see a maximum 50 meter. What should be the maximum stopping distance? So in this case, 25 meter is the answer. Let's look at the next one. You're driving in a fog on Autobahn and have a 50 meter visibility. What is the maximum speed you must drive? The answer is 50 kilometer per hour. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, you might get this question like, how much will one drop of oil, how much of water will get polluted with just one drop of oil? So the answer is 600 liter. Okay, so this is the question. Your vehicle loses oil. How much drinking water can be polluted by a single drop of oil? Answer is 600 meter. Okay, now let's look at this scenario. Let's look at the question. What is the maximum number of trailer allowed to be towed by a Class B truck? So with the license, the Class B license, we are only allowed to take one trailer with us. So that's the answer. Let's look at the next one. When must a car with a trailer driving outside built-up area on roads with only one lane for each direction keep a sufficient distance from the car in front so that an overtaking vehicle is possible? When the combination of vehicles does not exceed 7 meter. This is the answer. So this combination, when the combination of vehicle exceeds 7 meter, so when the combination vehicles exceed 7 meter, you must make sure that sufficient distance is maintained from the car ahead of you so that an overtaking is possible. Okay, now let's look at the next one. You're driving at 100 km per hour on a road not inside built up area. In front of you there is a truck traveling at 70 km per hour. What is the minimum distance you must be from a crest in the road when commencing an overtaking maneuver? Again, here the calculation is quite complicated. I could probably explain, but I think the best way is just remember the answer is 800 meter. Okay, now let's look at the next one. At which impact speed must you reckon with serious or deadly injuries when no safety belt is worn? Okay, again, this to me is a tricky question. I mean, you are expected to wear seat belt at all speed, so hence the answer is 30 km per hour onwards. Okay, because we are talking about serious or deadly injuries, so 30 km per hour onwards. Okay, let's look at the next one. What is the permissible minimum tread depth of main tread of all your vehicle tires? This is also part of your practical exam. Your examiner will ask this question, so remember this is 1.6 millimeter. Okay, let's look at the next one. You have purchased a 3-year-old car for your own personal use. The vehicle roadworthiness test certificate is new. What is the time limit? So in Germany, vehicle roadworthiness tests are compulsory, and failure to comply will result in fine. You need to renew this every 2 years. So in this case, 2 years, the answer is 24 months. Check lesson 4 where I have covered more numerical questions. So that's all I wanted to cover with this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and share.